Hey everybody, welcome back to my reviews. Um, this is now episode 10. We're still on Power Rangers audio drama season 1, episode 10, Titantis. So if you remember my last episode where I talked about a Zord was found, yeah, Titantis was that Zord. So if you commented that, you got it right. If you didn't, always guess next time. But this episode is about 38 minutes long. And for first-time listeners, it'll start out very confusing for the fact the Rangers are in Tokyo fighting Goldar and Scorpina. Why you say that's confusing? Because last we heard, Scorpina was locked up and Goldar was knocked out on the ship. Well, the Rangers are fighting them. And Tommy's power starts to fail. And then Rita shows up on a second building and starts blasting them. Well, Tommy gets the bright idea to run off from the rest of the group to fight Rita alone, after Jason told him not to. Well, Tommy's powers kind of completely fell, and he inadvertently dies. Then Alpha initiates the end of the program and their training session is over. So yeah, no one actually died, but if it was a real battle, Tommy would have died. Well, this starts some extra beef between him and Jason. To the point, as Zach says later on in the episode, they're having a dick measuring contest. To the point, Jason's like, you have to listen to me. I'm in charge. Tommy's like, what makes you in charge? The color red? Which we all know, in theory, normally the Red Ranger is in charge, with a couple of exceptions. But those are for later episodes in different seasons. Well, they keep bickering back and forth. Tommy even says, hey, I'm the strongest of all of y'all. I took you all on. Which, in theory, he is the strongest, even though he has powers that are failing. Now, in this episode, I'm not going to go full on the way they go, because it becomes 3 stories in one that tie together at the end. That starts from, of course, the beginning. Well, our man Zordon, y'all can see him, splits the teams, or the Rangers, up into 3 teams of 2. You got our first team, Tommy and Jason. Now, what are they tasked to do? Well, right before the teams are made, Zordon tells them about finding Titantis, about the other new 7th Zord. And of course, all of them are like, so does this mean there's a 7th Ranger? A 7th coin? And Zordon admits, no, there's not. This Zord is sentient. This Zord thinks for itself. And it's loosely talked about in the scrolls, which I kind of hope Carl, later on, as a bonus episode, kind of writes a backstory about the scrolls, because they sound really interesting in who wrote them. Well, that being said, Zordon says he has a task for Jason and Tommy to go retrieve the Zord. And Zordon gets questioned, why just 2? Why not the whole crew? Well, Titantis has a defense measure written put up around it, that it will attack whoever comes to it until certain measurements are made. Well, then he also wanted to get them to work together to overcome their beef, their differences, to learn together. And if you've seen the episode of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV series, where they work together to get Titanus, it's under the same reasons. Well, the other team, Kimberly and Trini, they're tasked to go find Rita. They just learn she posed as a human after the big fight in Atlanta. The one where they put up a big fight to save the Earth, and yet the U.S. government fought them back. Yeah. So they're tasked to go find her and bring her in. But Zordon actually gives them an ultimatum that if push comes to shove, they are allowed to take Rita down permanently. Which is odd for Zordon, but he knew it might be necessary. And our third team, as Zach called them, the ones left behind. Because him and Billy work together to figure out a way to get in good graces with the citizens of Earth. You know, a PR stunt. Well, I'm going to focus on Tommy and Jason first with their storyline. They have to go to Mars, of all places, to get Titanus. Which is why Alpha and Zordon first didn't discover Titanus, because he wasn't on Earth. He was on Mars. So the two of them take the longest teleportation trip they ever had and come out nauseated. They didn't get sick, they were just nauseated. They used their suits to its full ability. We learned that the suit filters air, and it can also adjust the gravity around the Rangers to match that of Earth. Other planets, we don't know yet. But it can at least make them feel like they have the same gravity on Earth, whereas Mars has a lighter gravity. Well, they used the radar system Alpha gave them to pretty much run over to where Titanus is, and they calmed down a lot, so they realized they were both in the wrong to different degrees. And so they talk it out, they work out their issues, and now they're outside of the perimeters of Titanus. They see how big this Zord is. And if you remember by the show, the Zord literally carries the Megazord with the Dragon Zord attached to it to make the ultimate weapon, as Zordon says. And Tommy's like, I wonder if we can call our Zords. So he starts playing the Dragon Flute. And Titanus reacts. Confused. Best way to say it is, they think it works on the similar link as the Dragon Zord. But not completely, of course. And I'm going to have to stop for part 2 on TikTok, and YouTube will carry on. Alright, now on part 2 for TikTok, and still continuation for YouTube. They try to figure out what to do. How to get in closer without getting killed. And of course, they're going to use the dragon flute because Titanus reacts to it. Not in a negative way, but it's just enough to stall him. Well, Tommy, being more tuned with his powers, learns he can pass the dragon shield on over to another ranger. So he has Jason take his hand, put it on the shield, and well, Jason gets the shield. And Tommy, of course, is without it. So Tommy starts to play the flute. Well, dragon dagger, that sounds like a flute. Oh, that plays like a flute, that sounds like a trumpet. How, you ask? Well, Carl was smart about that. The faceplate part right here in Carl's Power Ranger Audio Drama universe, it raises up. So his mouth is exposed, so he can play the flute. That sounds like a trumpet. Well, then Jason runs as fast as he can, and he actually gets blasted once. And if you remember Titanus cannons from the show, those aren't small cannons. Well, the dragon shield saved him from harm. And he makes it to Titanus, finds the entry finds the entry point. Sorry, I can't talk today. And he enters it. And Tommy moves out of the perimeter so he wouldn't be attacked. And Jason finds the, for lack of better words, the cockpit of Titanus. And he finds where to enter a power coin, and he puts the power coin in. So Titanus, all its lights go from red, the defensive mode, to white, non-combatant mode, or calmness, as you can say. Then they take Titanus and fly it back to Earth. Now, with Trainee and Kimberly, they go back to Atlanta with the device that Alpha also gives them. That's set to the DNA of Rita. Well, Rita is close to human. As close as she can be to human. Think of like Doctor Who. He looks human. He acts like some humans, but he's not human. So think of kind of on that scale. She looks human. She can act human, but she's not. So the device gives them a little issues in hunting down Rita. To the point, Trainee is just kind of wanting to call it quits and go home because she's worried about what her mom will think about her being out so late. And Kimberly explains that her mom, on the other hand, doesn't give a crap because she buries herself in alcohol. So her mom is kind of becoming an alcoholic, per se, because of the whole divorce. But no spoilers on that. And anyways, they come up to an area, then the device actually makes a different beep than what it has before. So Kimberly's like, let's try it. Let's go in here, see if this is right. And Trainee's like, it's just like the other times. Because, you know, you get impatient. You're trying to find something. You can't find it. You get aggravated. which is understandable. It's human nature. Overcoming that aggravation is the hard part, or keeping the determination of what you're doing gets to a point is easier said than done. Well, Kimberly convinces her to go inside. It's like a shopping complex, like a mall. And they come up to the second floor coffee shop. And they see the human disguised Rita. What gives her away to them is her eyes. Well, they calmly approach the table that Rita is sitting at. And Rita, being a smart mouth, offers them to sit down and buy some coffee. They start talking, and of course Rita is like, what do y'all want? And the girls are like, we want you to come in. And Rita goes, to be what? In prison without a trial? And Kimberly, being hot-headed at that time and letting her aggravation out, and tells her it's because of everything she's done. Murder, kidnapping, child endangerment. And that the rights for trial is only for Americans, humans. And Rita actually throws out the racism card, which in this case kind of works, but not, it just kind of works. And Rita even states that Zordon could be convicted of the same crimes. I mean, after all, to her, the Rangers are just kids. Teenagers, yes. A few of them, 17, yes. Qualifies for child endangerment in some cases. As in them being Power Rangers, fighting evil villains, saving the Earth. Child endangerment. Well, she doesn't go, but they don't start a fight or anything. They keep it calm. And Rita tells them about Lord Zed. About how she herself plays by a set of rules that she's been tempted to cross, but won't cross. But Zed, on the other hand, doesn't care. He doesn't play by any rules. He gets what he wants. And what he wants is their power coins to be in the collection of all his other power sources. Yes, let that sink in. Other power sources. Those will come in play later on. And it's very great when it happens. But, oh wow, I'm going to have to go to part 3. Alright, TikTok, see you on part 3. Alright, TikTok is part 3 and still continuing for YouTube. Didn't think I would go this long, but I'm down for it. Well, after she tells them that, she even tells the girls, go hide. Stop fighting. Wait till Zed gets what he wants, and then come out of hiding. Or even just hide and strike when the moment's right. But she kind of warns them to not fight Zed, to coward like she's doing. Because Rita only cares about herself and her survival, which, in the scheme of things, most people are. Most people, when it comes down to it, will do what they can to survive. Well, then she activates her rings after girls are like no, and puts the girls to sleep, and then makes her departure without harming the girls. Remember, she plays by a set of rules. She just put them to sleep, didn't harm them, and just left. And they wake up sometime later by a security guard shaking them, like, hello, wake up, girls. No, he didn't sound like that. But he wakes them up. They find out it's 9:45, that they need to leave or he's going to call the cops on them. Basically meaning the store's closed, leave now or get trespassed. Which that can happen anywhere. Rita didn't tell anybody that they are the Rangers. So they're safe on that end. Well, they leave and go back to the command center. And now we're on to Billy and Zach. Well, Billy morphs long enough to take off his helmet and plug it into the computer system that Zordon and the whole command center run off of. And we also learn that their suits record their fights. So while while Billy is doing that and waiting for everything to download to the computers, Zach feels a little hot-headed, a little confused to why he's just stuck there. And even like, yo, why are we just stuck here? Why am I stuck here? I could have went and helped find Rita. I could have helped get Titanus. And then Zordon, not really knowing the American culture, history, that type of stuff, just lets him know that, hey, I picked each team for certain reasons. For everybody to fit their skills. And Zach blatantly says, this task is for Billy. I'm not good with anything like this. So why am I here? I could be helping the girls track Rita, if nothing else. Well, Alpha, being the same way as Zordon, just blurts out, you get too hot-headed. We didn't want you to go because of a threat of violence. Well, that gets under Zach's skin, literally. And he yells at both Alpha and Zordon. And leaves the main area of the command center to go to just another part of it. Well, Billy goes to talk to him and like, hey man, I can still use your help. They meant what they said, but at the same time, they didn't mean anything bad about it. And Zach's just like, I don't know how to explain it. Just listen to the episode. Well, Zach gets calmed down by Billy. and they go back in to the main area, the command center, to figure out what to do. And then Zach's like, hey, why don't we just make a YouTube video? Because Billy was already planning on editing the video he downloaded off the helmet anyways. And Billy's like, I'm right there with you. And they edit the video down to where they go to surrender to some degree to the armed forces. Basically, when they're like, we're going to be on our own, but we're not going to hurt y'all. Let us be peaceful. Let us have peace. And they edit the video that will kind of give them the best positive light of, hey, we saved all these soldiers, all these people, but yet the soldiers still attacked us. The soldiers bombed us. The soldiers did everything they could to stop us, where clearly they couldn't even stop Rita's monster. Or, in this case, it was Govar's monster. But when Rita brought it back to life, it became hers. And they get it sent out. Now, back in the command center, after all of 3 stories wrap up, they start talking. Well, Zordon has hidden satellites throughout the solar system. And they get an alarm saying one of them was triggered. And it's out by Saturn, moving closer to Mars. We find out Lord Zed is entering the picture with his full armada. And what's the lead ship, the flagship of Zed? The great and powerful Serpentina. Yes, that's right. The Serpentina. Zord. The Rangers find out about that. They find out from Zordon that Zed made it with the same materials based off of the Megazords. Or off of the Zords. And they question it. And Zordon lets them know that, yes, Zed has other sets of powers that he has had before the power coins. And Kimberly and Trainee let them know Rita said the same thing. So that pretty much ends the episode. And the next 2 is a 2-part season finale, 11 and 12. Now, will we get to see Piranha? For new listeners, stay tuned and find out. And if you remember who Piranha is, he was the one who destroyed the Megazord. And started off Lord Zed's monsters of the TV show. They brought in season 2. So we're at that point. Can't wait to see you there.